right, so we are here, Mark the Movie Man, at the Midwest Weird Fest, a night of Horror International Film Festival, and I'm here with the fine folks who have their film Dweller show. It's a paranormal documentary about dwellers. Could you tell me just a little bit of what sparked you wanting to do this documentary?
Well, I thought, it would be great to come to the Midwest Weird Fest and put the weird in the Weird Fest. And I think we accomplished that. We really brought the weird. No, but in all seriousness, we have been doing paranormal investigating and filmmaking for 8 years or so now. And we had this terrifying experience that it just naturally happened. We all looked at each other and we thought, this is a story. This not only is a compelling beginning, middle, and end. We need to tell this experience we had, but this is about this huge, just like not talked about enough entity called the Dweller on the Threshold, and that opens up this whole can of worms that just needs to be shared. And we need to tell not only our story, but this story that's been plaguing all these theosophical beliefs and traditions for centuries.
So what made you want to do this investigation? Was there an event? Did you like, oh, hey, this would be really cool to debunk? What was it that motivated you to get into it?
I mean, I tell the story all the time. We were just undergrads at Michigan State University, and I had no idea going in on freshman orientation that my school had one of the largest paranormal clubs in the Midwest. I was just going around and I was handing business cards during the orientation day. Come join Squirrel Watching Club. Come join Disc Golf Club. And I was like, I don't do sports. I don't like squirrels. And then this girl in a ghost costume jumped out, handed me a business card. Come to Ghost Club. I was like, who the bleep goes to Ghost Club?
Yeah.
So I just show up, and that's where I met some of my best friends. And being a documentary film production student, I just started filming some of our events through the club and fell in love with the mysteries and the pursuit and the weirdness and the rabbit holes and all that comes with it. So it just sort of happened naturally.
What about your motivation for getting into this? Was it something similar? Or?
Yeah, so I met Ben in the Paranormal Club. We all, as a group, started going out investigating different cemeteries nearby the university. And yeah, no, I've always had some kind of inkling towards the paranormal and things like that. But yeah, meeting them, it really facilitated all of this, like coming together with different interpretations, different skills. So yeah.
Awesome. What about you? What was your motivation?
Well, I actually met them 2 years ago. I started dating Ben. And I wasn't part of the MSU club at first. Mm-hmm. I never was. Not even at first. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Don't worry, though. She's not a Wolverine.
We won't hold you to it. That's fine.
But once I started dating Ben, I kind of just came along for the ride. And I was jumped in the middle of when they were doing and talking about the Dweller. And so I kind of got to experience it from an outsider point of view. And it was just like a different experience compared to the other people, Brianna, Sarah, and Ben that were in it.
So you didn't start out as a believer, but it sounds like from this documentary and your experiences, you really, it's grown on you?
I've always been a believer in a way. Okay. Yeah, since a little kid, I've always been very interested in it. I always grew up as like, oh, this stuff is evil, you don't want to mess with it. But in the back of my head, I was like always very curious with it. And so I met him, learned he was into this stuff. I'm like, heck yeah.
Finally,
I finally found someone I can talk to about this stuff.
Yeah, this is our third, this kind of, I say it rounds out this little trilogy of short films. We made 2 short films and this feature that screened. Kind of formed a trilogy. So, on our first date, I was like, hey, guess what? She's like, what? I'm like, I made a movie about ghosts.
Oh, man. And you're just like, yes.
Weird Fest, here we come.
Yeah. Now, you had one of the scenes where you were staring in the mirror and you described your experience with that. Did that deter you from staring in the mirror since for a long time, or because it sounded like it was a very jarring experience for you?
No, it hasn't. It just made me wonder a lot because I'm going to get a little bit weird down the rabbit hole, but the nature of reality is malleable in a way. So with mirrors, it's a reflective surface. What's beyond that reflection, though, is also kind of what the dweller is. It's a reflection of you, but the abyss or what is beyond the mirror is what's really important. Yeah.
See, now I'm not going to look into a mirror the same way again. Yeah, Dweller was a very interesting documentary. I think people may not take it as a documentary. There is a bit of a stigma with paranormal. Do you run into that concern when you're working on a project like this, or do you just say, screw those non-believers, I believe, and this is what I'm telling?
Well, I think this is a very interesting subject matter because it's not the way a lot of paranormal documentary and television is being so mainstream now. They have the same form and the same story they tell, where people go in. It's like, okay, we're going to spend the first act telling you about the location. Second act, we're going to take out all this beeping devices. Third act, we're going to tell you that there's demons and you should sell your business. Right. So I mean, like that's kind of putting a light, but that's like the formula, and this doesn't follow that formula. It kind of goes deeper into, like I kind of alluded to, the kind of there's tip of the iceberg just on TV, and then there's there's an iceberg that very few people talk about because it's really kind of gatekept. Ironically, talking a film about the gatekeeping entity, and it's gatekept by these societies that just they love their silence. And we're filmmakers, so we tell stories, and we're going to tell it how it is. So there's a stigma, I think, from that side of it of, oh crap, you're talking about something you shouldn't.
Right.
And then there's the other stigma, as you alluded to, of where's the blinking lights that are telling me there's a demon here? Because we didn't mention the word demon once, and we don't really have blinking lights. So we're telling a story, and I think that's kind of, people aren't used to that. But the film itself as well is kind of framed as our self-initiation ritual, and this is an entity, the dweller, that people commonly see on their spiritual journey, on their spiritual path, as a form of their initiation. So we're kind of on the other side of that, if we're like, okay, if this was a self-initiation ritual,
where do you go from here?
Where do we go from here? And also, should we worry about catering it to someone who might not get it? I've just kind of accepted, if you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, you don't get it. If it resonates, I'm not going to let that hold me back. I'm going to put it out there. And it seems like it does resonate with people. So if it resonates, that's awesome. If it doesn't, you still felt something. So it's, And
you still got an interesting documentary, which I was impressed because, as you mentioned, some of the ones like on TV and that, they get embellishments. It's like reenactment or whatever. But nearly all the footage, it felt like this was all stuff that you filmed in real time. This is what you're getting. This wasn't like, oh man, we didn't get that shot. Go over there and knock over that jar. Is that correct? Is that you tried? This is just all the stuff that you captured?
100%. There's only one thing that bugs me about the film, and that I was reminded of because I've been seeing it since I put it out. I don't really watch my own stuff. I'm not like a narcissist, So it was my first time seeing it, not only on the big screen but just in general for a while. And there's one point during the kind of ritual we're doing where Sarah's ringing a bell, and she turned her back and started ringing it, and I forgot to go get a pickup shot, like a close-up of the bell. So I kind of paired that with like an adjacent shot, but I was just like, oh man, it would have taken 2 seconds to get a close-up of that bell. But like you said, it's run and gun. We're a 4-person crew. We didn't bog down for a 45-minute film, 5 minutes of credits to put 4 people's name on a screen. So it's a small crew, and it just like you said, it just kind of happened naturally. We were just out there and telling a story. The storytelling is what matters.
Right. And I'll ask each of you. I'll start with you. What is the one thing that you hope when people watch this they might get out of this? Maybe take that rabbit hole dive of actually look into it, because you got a lot of history that is worked into this as well. Or what, for you personally, do you hope people get out of this?
I hope that people realize that fear holds you back in a lot of ways. When you confront your fears, in the paranormal sphere or any sphere, like I said in the documentary, what you want is on the other side of what you fear. Mm-hmm. So it's about understanding things from a lens of acceptance and understanding rather than fear, right? Everybody assumes with the paranormal everything's a demon or something malicious or bad, and that's really not the case. The paranormal shows that have entertainment value are the ones that create fear for people, right? And that's not good for the psyche of everybody, right? That watches it.
Yeah.
So
don't make them afraid of it, right?
Yeah, and this stuff is so important, and we should approach it in a way that is non-judgmental and non-fearful.
That's good to say. What about you? What would you say that you would hope folks get out of this?
I just hope that people have an open mind when watching it, because things aren't black and white as a lot of people believe. And like Sarah said, you got to face your fears to like learn the truth and stuff. So I just hope when people are watching it, they're not just thinking like, oh, all of this is fake.
Right.
And just like look at it, go into the deep dive, and just see what else there could be out in the world and stuff.
And you as the director, what do you hope folks get out of this?
Well, the film's only 45 minutes.
It's the length of an episode.
It's the length of an episode. It's literally on the threshold of short film, feature-length film. No, but it's 45 minutes. I mean, if you block out an hour and a half, this could have been a 10-hour documentary series, but it wasn't. And I am very intentional about that. I never want people to leave a film like this thinking, oh, these 25-year-old kids just told me everything there is to know about centuries worth of research into this very niche and specific thing. I want just enough where you're satisfied that like, okay, great. If I go home now, I have an understanding. But what was that quick mention they made that they could have gone down a whole hour-long rabbit hole on? Oh, I'm going to Google that.
Sure.
So maybe block out an hour and a half and, those little throwaway lines that you feel like there's more to that. There probably is. So, if it inspires people to do more research and go down rabbit holes, that's kind of what I want.
And we didn't even include this in the documentary. In that basement area, we found that playing card, the Queen of Diamonds, which was a fun, I learned later, Twin Peaks reference. Yeah. Of like a weird synchronicity there too.
Yeah, combined with like the Red Room and obviously we put a bit of Twin Peaks in there with the Dweller reference. So.
Well, I always tell people with the paranormal stuff that it's not necessarily when you go to these films, not so much if you believe, but the fact that the folks making it believe. And because I did another film, there was another film I reviewed. It was about Ashley Rowland White, who's a woman. I don't know if you've heard her story, but she's one that has felt that she's been tormented by a demon since she was 10 years old. And now it's interacting with her kids, and it's legit. And when I was talking to the director, I was saying the same thing. I'm like, when you watch these, I try to tell people, it doesn't matter if you believe, if you think it's, hokey or whatever. It's the fact that you folks believe in it. You're making a project and your heart and soul is going into this project. And it comes out as a great, like you said, maybe spark your interest at least, if nothing else. So check out Dwellers. Where can they find you at? Follow your information, follow your stuff, your other videos.
Yeah, you can follow us. We're at Afterlife Road Productions. It is Afterlife Road, ROAD Productions. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Website is afterliferoadproductions.com. Feel free to reach out. We're pretty good about responding. So
awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.